One of the things that we're trying to do in Wargame is create this narrative, create this idea through the interactions of the rules, the miniatures, and the terrain, where in that moment, whatever the system is, you are there creating this living narrative, this living history. I use the example when I play historicals, when I'm playing my Romans and we step back from the table. It's like looking through a mirror at a movie set or a snapshot in time. So we want to engage as wargamers, yes, absolutely the tactics, but leveraging the miniatures, the rules, and the terrain to really build that effect. Now, on the tactica side for terrain, various terrain pieces, and this is modified, of course, by the rules. Some terrain blocks line of sight. Some might give you a fortification bonus or a cover save. Some terrain you can move through maybe with a penalty. Other pieces of terrain you can't move through at all. Might be dangerous terrain. There could be terrain that gives you elevation. We often look at terrain from that tactical perspective. But I want to switch things a little bit for the visual and answer the question, working my way through some mailbag. Fritz, what is scatter terrain? Now, scatter terrain, from my definition, is terrain that is used to dress up the table. It has no tactica function. If you think about most wargaming terrain, you'll have 3 or 4 or 5 primary pieces, maybe some buildings or a series of woods, something, again, that is going to give you that tactical advantage. But this has pieces of terrain with a footprint on the table. Scatter terrain is where you take small pieces of terrain, could be some bushes, could be a single tree, could be some piles of rubble, and you literally scatter them about the table. You use it to break up that dead space within the table. A perfect example would be if I have a city that I'm fighting in. I've got the city streets, I've got the buildings, right? Playing Battletech. Scatter terrain is the streets are not going to be empty. I might put down some cars, or I might put down some vehicles exploring different things. You could put down some crater markers that, again, have no tactical bearing, but visually they break up the table and visually they framework it, they frame it so it helps to have that immersion. It's not just like, here's 5 buildings placed on the terrain table. This is where we add a little bit of that scatter. So in my own terrain boxes, I tend to build the terrain that I travel with me to events and clubs to fit in one box. Everything kind of folds over on itself. It has a base. This way I can carry it. Within that box is a smaller box of just single bushes, piles of rubble, some trees, some different things. And once we've assembled the table, we literally scatter it. We literally dust it about, again, to help build those visuals.